Renovating this door has been a very, very long road, and obstacles have surfaced at every turn, but so far nothing has been too big to climb. When I started, there was a tremendous amount of rot and woodworm. It's absolutely everywhere. But then again, I can't really complain, because the €8 I spent was for all this brass hardware, and it's absolutely gorgeous. I never intended to save the door in the first place. As you can probably see, much of this oak has already been replaced. These bits here, that bit there, that bit there. It's all been replaced with oak which we scavenged from a 150-year-old ceiling beam out of our spare bedroom. The problem we now face is I'd like to replace these side panels, this one, the one on the opposite side, and also these two floating panels there, with oak. When we've been round the local reclamation yards and the sawmills looking for oak, and they've only got, well, freshly cut oak probably in the last couple of weeks, and I don't think it's going to be suitable because it's not air dried, it's not kiln dried and everything like that. And these sort of grooves here that go down the sort of floating panels, I don't think they're going to be strong enough for, freshly cut green oak. So we've got a bit of a conundrum, really, because once the moisture content drops and it warps and distorts, it might break those. So I do have one panel of oak that I've had for about 15 years and probably a little bit more stable, but I only have the one. So yeah, and it's too thick, and getting that down to the required 35mm, I'm going to have to either build a surfacing table or pay through the nose for a sawmill to thickness that for me. So yeah, conundrum. I've cut off, well, about the lower quarter of the door, because it was riddled with woodworm and rot, and I've got a bit of the old ceiling beam, not got a lot left, and I'm going to create what's called a dovetail halving joint, I think it's called. I'm not a carpenter, and I'm a little bit worried about this, to be honest, because it is going to create, well, probably a bit of a weak point, and this door is going to weigh, 50 odd kilos, and we do have a bit of a temperature span here. In winter we've seen minus 15 degrees, in summer over 45 degrees, and it does get full sunlight, so yeah, it literally gets baking hot. So yeah, I'm a bit worried. So yeah, can't deny it. But at the moment, this side of the door is scrap, and it's firewood, so I'm not going to lose anything. So I'm going to have a bit of a practice. So I'm going to joint this in and see what it looks like. If it looks terrible and it fails, I've not lost anything. That's one half of my dovetailed halving joint, and I'm going to sort of splice it on to the bottom half of the door. That's the plan. The tricky bit is getting the dovetail to sit into the door, and I've started to hack out the dovetail, and it's going to be a slow job, I think. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to have to go and sharpen my chisels, because it's gone blunt on me. So yeah, that's my next job.
Is that because it's oak?
Well, yeah, it is. It is incredibly hard wood, actually. So I don't think my chisel's that blunt, actually. It's just that I really, really do need an exceptionally exceptionally sharp chisel, really. So, yeah. And also, there's a couple of nails hidden in there which might be blunting my chisel every so often. So yeah, that's got to sit in there, and that will stop it from twisting sideways and pulling out. That's the plan. Well, there it is, folks. The new bit of wood is jointed and I've started to sand it together. Am I happy? Well, it seems to be okay. It might be okay. It's possibly strong enough. Am I happy? Well, I think you know the answer to that. It kind of looks like it's got a patched up leg, doesn't it? So I think I'm going to continue to look for wood. On Market Pace last night, a couple of beams popped up, so we had to go and rush out and go and collect them. They're probably out of a barn because they're not straight, they're not in great condition, they're full of knots, they're full of holes, they're full of nails and stuff like that, but we had to rush out and go and collect and quit before anyone else snapped them up. It's freezing cold and we got to get them down quick because it's mightily drafty out here. And yeah, so but we might be able to scavenge enough oak out of them to make the side of the doors. That's the plan. Hopefully in the middle of there is enough oak to make the side of the doors. I hope. I'm just assessing what we've bought, and I'm hoping the inside isn't as bad as the outside. I don't know if you can see all of these marks here, they're axe marks, and round here this is woodworm, and there's some nails sticking out. They're all going to have to be removed, and that is where it was originally cut with an axe. So yeah, as you can imagine, there isn't a single straight line on this piece of timber at all. It's very, very wonky, for want of a better word. This beam is bent as a banana. It's a proper old roller coaster ride. The last metre or so, that goes well off to the left by a good 6 or 7 centimetres, I reckon. I've marked out the beam, and it turns out there's just absolutely masses to cut off, about 4 or so inches, and there's absolutely no way I'm going to cut that off down the whole length of the beam. So I've got the trusty chainsaw out. I'm lazy really, aren't I? So I'm going to hack it all off down the whole length of the beam and do it the easy way. So yeah, really lazy, aren't I? So I don't think they would have done that 150 years ago. But then again, this is mature oak, and to do that with hand tools, yeah, no way. So yeah, gonna go for it. And it's going to get rid of quite a bit of the woodworm as well. So yeah, no excuses really, have I? But there you go. Oh, am I out of petrol already? As you can see by this rather huge pile of shavings on the floor, I've removed a rather huge amount of shavings from the beam, and it is now twist free from end to end, so it's not like a corkscrew anymore, and it's also completely flat. I've been doing that with the box section, and I've managed to get this edge here completely 90 degrees to this face here, and that took a bit of time. So this face here is now completely sort of almost mirror smooth and flat, so I'm really happy with that. But I've now got to get this edge here completely flat and smooth, and I'll do that with the planer thicknesser, and I'll do the underside as well. We've cut the beam into 2 pieces, and something has left a rather sizable hole, and you can see where something has come in. You can see the track here, and yeah, it's some kind of maggot. You can see some kind of, there you go, pupa there. It's, yeah, I don't know what kind of a thing it is. It's much bigger than a woodworm, that's for sure. But yeah, it's yeah, that's the pupa there. Yeah. So yeah, these beams are local, so it's too big to be woodworm, but I don't know what it is. But yeah, it's huge. Considering these bits of oak are probably a century old, they've come up pretty good, and we've managed to scavenge enough oak for 2 sides of the door. This is the fresh piece of oak which I've scavenged from a 100-year-old ceiling beam, and this is the piece of oak from the 100-year-old door, and I'm trying to transfer as carefully as I can all the old dimensions, and I'm using tape measures, I'm using verniers, and I'm doing some of it by eye, and I'm having to make up some of the dimensions in places because basically the door was totally rotted away, and some of it will have to be done with a router, some of it have to be drilled, some of it will just have to be done with chisels and hand tools. You have the bits where the grill port sits in, which is here. This bit is purely decorative. This bit will have to be probably done with a chisel, again down the bottom. This bit here is where a floating panel will sit in a groove. You've got bits here which have a different escutcheon to this one here. That is where the key goes in. You've got holes here, there where dowels sat in. That is for an old lock. We'll have a 3-star rated lock which will go somewhat similar to there but not quite. This is where the mortise and tenon joints go in for the centre bar. Again, you got mortise and tenon joints up the top. Yeah, they pull the joint tight together. Yeah, there's, I think, just on, you got different number of joints on each side. I think this side has got 19 router or cuts to be done, and the other side's got 21. So yeah, awful lot of joints and cutting operations to be done. It's not just the oak that is causing this problem. We've got this ancient old lock, and it's a 9-lever lock. As you can see, there's the levers moving backwards and forwards there, and yeah, hasn't got a key, and not a problem, we thought, because there are a lot of key cutters in the local area, and we thought one of them would love the challenge of cutting a key for this, but they said it's precision work and this is an ancient lock, and basically they'd all lost the knowledge. Although they'd got the specialist equipment to do the job, they didn't want to do it. And when we asked for an uncut key, maybe it was our broken French or something, and we were asking for something completely different, like a spaceship or something. But yeah, but we did manage to get an uncut key. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite fit the hole. I'll show you why. But I have made keys in the past, and this one is made from scratch. Yeah, I've made that out of stainless steel bar and flat steel. So I'm up for the challenge. This key is too big to fit through the hole, and I've got a grinder profile on it, which is going to be rather tricky without specialist tools. Keys come in a whole multitude of profiles. This one is currently flat, so it doesn't fit into the lock. See? Whereas this one has got a profile on it and slides in. For this lock to work perfectly, this steel bar needs to pass through this open slot in these brass levers, and it is very tight. So if I turn this key, you can see these levers moving. This is the wrong key, by the way, and there are many levers and they're not aligning at the moment. I'm showing you the action on a much older worn lock, but you get the idea. It's not the best of news because it appears someone has been in the lock before me and they've messed up the order these little levers are in. And, well, yeah, I've got some jiggery pokery to do. Now, a key, well, in this particular style of lock, they're always mirrored from the centre outwards. You have one pin in the centre, and from there outwards they're always mirrored, and that is because if you put the key in from this side and again in from that side, they've got to work the lock the same. So you have pairs of these levers and they go in a certain order. Now, one of the levers will be actually not a lever at all. It will be this lock bar. So yeah, that confuses things again. You'd have to take a lock apart to work it out yourself. We're going to call this key Mark 1 because I could probably cut 1/8 of a millimetre too much off and it doesn't quite click into place. So yeah, just not quite right. So never mind. Luckily, I bought a spare today. So yeah, gonna try again. I'm starting to understand why the professional key cutters ran for the hills when I took in this lock, because they probably had a go at cutting keys for these in the past, and yeah, it's really not easy. As you can see, this is attempt number 2 and it now works with quite a resounding clunk, but it's not exactly a masterpiece. And although this time I'm starting to realise I'm not exactly to blame. I've cut all the wards and the wards are the cutouts, but the real problem is the size of the shaft, and apparently the size of your shaft really does matter. And the second problem is, I don't know if you can see, in the bottom of the lock there is a sort of brass bush, and this bush has also seen quite a bit of action, and it is incredibly baggy. And don't know if you can hear, when you put a key in there, that key rattles around like it's doing the, you know, the old cha-cha. So doesn't really stand much of a chance of getting in the right position. And when there's also another bush on the lock there that sets the depth of the lock, when you put it in to there, that should go in there and that should set the depth. So basically I haven't got the right key. So honestly, expecting this lock to work is like hoping to win the lottery without even buying a ticket. So I didn't really stand much of a chance. So yeah.
So we have been busy behind the scenes. This front door is taking a lot more effort than we thought it was going to be. We've been round lots of timber yards, lots of brickons looking for donor bits of wood.
Yeah, all of the brickons.
And there's other things that have been going on as well, like getting the veggie beds ready for the growing season. So we've not just been doing nothing, we have been doing stuff.
Visiting friends, helping them out with their projects. Oh, lots of stuff.
Yeah, and also now we're ready and raring to go for the next project. So while
we've got a lot of projects we can pick on. Really.
Yeah, so while Mark's going to carry on doing the front door now, I'm going to be starting in the hobby room.
The hobby room, is it?
The hobby room.
Yeah, because we've got plenty of rooms to choose from.
Yeah.
We've got the front of the house as well. We could pick on that as well as soon as the weather picks up. So, yeah, we could pick on any number of projects.
Yep. So, watch your space.
Yeah.
And like and subscribe. He does like that.
Yeah, and leave a comment or two. We love them.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.